Brits, listen, we need to have a chat. What the f? This right here is a standard electrical outlet in the UK. When my mom first visited from America, she thought it was broken. Why? Well, she couldn't seem to get any power out of it. That's weird. But my mom's an American. Americans are surprised by quite a lot over here in Europe. I know from experience. But what I find even more interesting are the things that Europeans find surprising about Britain. Like some of the comments I've seen about British bathrooms and electricity have made me understand why people find them so unsettling here. My name is Edinger, and today we're looking into all the things about Britain that confuse Europeans. So, starting off this Ask Europe thread of what shocks Europeans about Britain is, unironically, the outlets and the electricity. The switch-on power plugs. I thought it was really weird, but now I wish it was like that everywhere. Actually, when I first moved to the UK, I was just like my mom. I was very confused about, sometimes I'd plug things in and I just wouldn't get any power. I'd be like, what's going on? Why are these not working? Because we don't have switches on our plugs in America. We have switches on the devices. However, similar to this commenter, it is something that once you start using for a bit, you realize it is actually quite great. No, you don't really save any amount of money by turning off the power to the specific outlet, and I don't really find it's that much safer. However, the quality of life increase of being able to power cycle devices just by flipping a switch rather than having to unplug it and plug back in, amazing. I've just recently outfitted my house with like a full home networking setup with Wi-Fi and such, and the ability to power cycle my router when things are going wrong or when I want to change things up just by pushing a button, very, very nice. Also, I will say, I've seen a lot of people complain about the shape of the British plug because you step on this guy. It's not going to be very nice, right? This is hell. At least the US version, you know, he's always going to land on his side. It's never going to be like this. However, in my 13 years of life in the UK, never once have I stepped on one of these, all right? Knock on wood. I assume this would destroy your foot, but somehow I have avoided it thus far. I appreciate you, outlet switch thing. Now get on the floor. Goodbye. Next up, having cider on tap. As Central Europeans thinking you get a pint of beer and taste sweet apple cider was an experience. Cider is one of those things that I've come to love, yet again, another thing like that, because, well, growing up, cider in the US is apple cider, which is delicious and sweet, and it's like apple juice, but more wholesome. It's like pressed apple juice.
A lot of Brits get confused with American apple cider. It's basically similar to pressed apple juice, but it's a bit different. It only comes out once a year. It's very spiced.
Yeah, it looks like apple juice.
There's a small difference between apple cider and apple juice, and the difference is vibes and spice.
It's different, all right? It's got a little spice in there. It's yummy. In the UK, cider just means alcoholic cider. I wish I could get the American equivalent here, but I can't. But having cider on tap, it is quite nice for the summer months. I quite like a nice glass of mout. Listen, it's a moot point. Whoa, it's a callback. I like that one quite a bit. However, I feel like most of the time when I get cider on tap, it's quite mid to me. I'll just throw that out there. Personally, a recorder leg, which is in a bottle, always really nice and sweet. A Brothers toffee apple. Oh, that was like one of my first alcoholic drinks when I moved to the UK was a Brothers toffee apple because it tasted so sweet. And it was like, oh, I can drink alcohol if it's this sweet. Because, you know, I didn't really drink till I was like 22, 23. So that clocks. That clocks is an expression I like to say when I don't know how to end a sentence. All right, what else is shocking to Europeans? We have went to Cambridge for a few hours during a long layover. That must be fun. And I was fascinated how everything is as on TV. An old lady was calling me honey or something similar. I'm sorry. Are you sure you're in the UK? I've lived here so long. No one's ever called me honey. I feel like love is the one you hear more than anything. How's it going, love? Can I get you anything, love? On the way to Cambridge, I saw cows munching on grass and it was raining. The houses were like in every British TV show I'd ever watched. It was just so much like what I'd seen on the small screen. So are cows not munching on grass in, you know, Europe? I mean, I guess I understand where they're coming from with the British homes. There's this vibe to a nice village home or the style of house in Cambridge. It's like, it's iconically British. However, I don't know how different the cows are, all right? Happy cows come from California. However, cows with workers' rights, they come from Jersey. You know, the island. I make references that can be only understood by people who have consumed marketing in both the US and the UK. So they're from Bulgaria. What do Bulgarian cows do? I have no idea. This probably isn't something that a tourist would notice during a short-term stay in the UK, but the British class system. And the general obsession with social class that British people have is really strange, but also a fascinating aspect of British culture from a foreigner's perspective. British people really, really, really have that class system very ingrained. From my experience, the way that the class system system operates is very judgmental. It's very much like you have to act within your class. And if you act too high in your class, you get judged. If you act too low for your class, you get judged. You have to just be in the class that you're destined to be in. As an American who moved here, well, due to my accent, I pretty much can get away with anything because it doesn't really matter. I'm not in a lower, middle, upper class. I am foreigner. Even though I have a British passport, even though I am a British citizen, I do still feel like I don't necessarily fit into the mold of the British class system because I don't subscribe to it, okay? Unlike you, to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. See, this person understands. They say, the weird thing is that it can be dictated by accent. I think that's how most people seem to be judging class these days. A Southern English person with a posh accent, but from a council estate, could be regarded as middle class, but a Northern Irishman who is well off might be regarded as working class. That is actually how it is. I think that's how a lot of people are in most societies. It's just that the UK's is much easier to define your class based on your accent, which essentially is how educated were you or where you came from. But it is insane. You could be the most educated person that grew up in the valleys in Wales, and yet because of your accent, people would judge you and think you are a certain class. It is stupid. First time I went was in 1999. I stayed in Lincolnshire for a month. I was shocked by the amount of older women with lots of tattoos and by the amount of really young teenagers getting very drunk. I was 16 and a lot of them were way younger than me. Okay, I'm sorry you ended up in Lincolnshire. Good sausages though. They're banging, you could say. I knew some people way back in the YouTube community that were like 16, 17, and they would have fake IDs to get into the pubs. And that was just like, oh, everyone does that. And then after they were in the pubs, after they got older, they would then use fake IDs to like keep getting discounts because student discounts exist in loads of different restaurants and shops here. Everyone's just got a fake ID from people I knew, I guess. I've not really personally noticed a huge difference in like the number of people with tattoos in this country compared to where I'm from in the US, but maybe in Europe or specifically in Spain, tattoos aren't as popular. But I know quite a lot of people with tattoos here, and I knew a lot of people with tattoos in the States. So you tell me if that's something you've noticed, or maybe this is just a not Spain thing. This one's blowing my mind. We have power shower. For those who don't know, it's a system that boosts the water pressure when it's not strong enough to have a decent shower. The UK is the only country I've seen that does that. So you have an electrified box almost under the shower, and the first time I saw that, I thought, how brilliant, I'm gonna electrocute myself in no time. This one has blown my mind quite a lot because I actually have stayed at quite a few places with one of these without knowing what it is. So let me explain. Britain is a very old country with very old housing stock, and a lot of these homes still had the Victorian pipeworks and plumbing installed, and it would be very expensive to retrofit these with ways of basically pumping hot water throughout the house. And so people came up with a very ingenious solution, which was to keep hot water in a cylinder basically in the attic and then let gravity do the work of supplying hot water to the showers, to the sinks, and so on. The issue being, if you are in a higher part of the house closer to the attic, well, the water pressure is going to be very, very low. And so a solution was invented in Britain to install a power shower into the showers, essentially. The way that a power shower actually works is by taking the hot and cold water from the gravity-fed systems and then with an electric pump, increasing the water pressure so that the water coming out of the shower head is actually more than adequate. Or a British person might say, not bad. These days, there's not many of these power showers left because modern systems use either a combi boiler, where essentially hot and cold water come in from the mains, so there's good pressurized systems, or the one that I have, for instance, is communal heating, where essentially all the way in the basement of my flat is this giant plant room with, weirdly enough, there are no plants there. But in this plant room, they pressurize, they heat all the water, and whenever somebody needs water, they pump it up to that specific flat, and you pay for the amount you used and the amount of heating you used to heat that water. And that way, it's just kind of on demand, essentially. However, this is quite a modern invention, and the power shower acted as a really nice stopgap for Brits to not have to completely retrofit their old Victorian homes with modern systems. So it makes sense. But the idea of having something with electric plugged in to the place you shower does freak me out, especially considering Brits are absolutely obsessed with the idea of not having any outlets inside of their bathrooms. This is a big thing for them. As an American, I just like having the ability to plug in my hairdryer and dry my hair in the bathroom. Brits go, oh, actually, it's just a moist room. You can't have that. But they'll hook up the electric inside of the shower? Excuse me. That's it. You're done, all right? Hypocrisy. Oh my God, see, and someone here said, when I visited England in 2003, that electrified box lit on fire when I was showering. I super quickly stopped water, jumped out of the shower, dried myself, put some clothes on, and went out the hallway to press the fire alarm. You had to press the alarm? What? The other part of this comment that I think we need to address right now is also carpet in bathroom. I mean, not a small amount. The whole bathroom floor covered with deep carpet. Brits, listen, we need to have a chat. As an American who's been in the UK for so long, I've never once been in any bathroom in the UK that was carpeted. That does sound disgusting. However, I did find a poll recently that said 1 in 8 Brits are okay with carpet in the bathrooms, which means you should leave. That's it. No! That is the least sanitary thing. I'm not even like that clean of a guy, but just imagine a little spittle. You have a little pee and then some on the carpet. That's there forever now. Right? I mean, you could clean it. No. Pull up some images. That's it. What the I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Now this looks like I just wouldn't want to poop there. I wouldn't want to pee there. I wouldn't want to be there. If I visited a friend's house and they had a carpeted bathroom like this, look, this is vile. God damn. All right. That one's really surprised me. Oh, actually, yeah. Foxes. Foxes everywhere, and they're so cute. No. You think foxes are cute until you're trying to sleep and you hear them having sex outside your house. What does the fox say? He goes, like the song is real, okay? They're not cute, they're not fun, they just make loud, sexy noises. Not that the noises are sexy, they're sexing noises, you see. I actually grew up in a part of New Jersey called Fox Run, and it was famous for having lots of foxes, but I actually never really saw one growing up because I think they were all killed off through hunting. But somehow, London, mate, there's foxes everywhere, especially if you go into West London. Just go out at night, you go in the center. I mean, I even got a video of a fox in King's Cross Station before my big video where I took the train to Germany.
You also going to Berlin? What? There he goes.
They're bloody everywhere here. Not exactly a shock, but something we don't really have in the Netherlands, same for many other countries in Europe, is the presence of pubs and a whole lifestyle around it. You also pay while ordering instead of after you consumed your drink/dinner, which is also a bit different than what we're used to. Really like how they do it over there. Oh, that's really sweet. Pub culture is really nice. They're just a nice, wholesome place. It is around alcohol, but it's kind of like, you know, the community hub for the most part. I don't spend a lot of time in pubs these days, but whenever I want to meet up with a YouTuber to discuss future collabs and things, I go to a local pub because why not? It's just a nice little place. The vibes are lovely. The food is excellent a lot of times. My favorite part about pubs is that it feels like such a nice shared space that everyone can go to and just chat, have a good time. I don't know, it's very nice. When I did my master's degree there, I was surprised at how early everyone went for pre-drinks. I usually have dinner around 8 p.m., but would get called for pre-drinks at 7, forcing me to eat a lot earlier than I usually do. Drinking culture in the UK is just too much. I know that we just came from the pub section where I was like, oh, it's so wholesome in a pub. But the culture around drinking, I still have not truly gotten adjusted to. I'm a guy that likes having 1 pint, maybe 2 pints. And there's round culture here where you buy a drink for everybody around you and you just keep drinking until you're all pissed. Also, the amount of jobs that I've had where it felt like every Friday, everyone would be like, oh, Evan, you join us at the pub. You know, there'd be pre-drinks. Everyone would go out to at 5:30 and you'd go drinking after beer o'clock, which of course is at London startups. There's a lot of places that have beer o'clock. You get a free drink at the workplace and then you follow that through with drinking at the pub. And then you drink all night with your mates, or rather your colleagues. And then you wake up early. How are you supposed to be working to your potential? The most American thing I've ever said. But I'm just not a big fan of getting drunk. So drinking culture, pre-drinking, having to drink in order to socialize with your colleagues, not a thing that I'm a fan of, but I still appreciate a pub. Coming from Germany, the absolutely horrible building quality. Oh, I really thought they were gonna say bread. I was hoping they'd say something about, I don't know, anything but yeah, they've got us to the rights there. British building quality is truly awful. Even the new builds, especially the new builds, these things are coming with so many issues. Mate, my building is 4 or 5 years old or something like that, and yet our lift, we have 2 lifts. Lifts are always broken. At one point, we had no working lift for a couple days, and it's been 4 years of this happening, by the way. Sometimes I will literally hear a scream that has a nice Doppler effect as they pass my floor and keep going, because the lifts will randomly turn all the lights off and then shoot you to the top floor. and then be like, hello, have a fun time. It's like the Tower of Terror. I've also had a time in which the lift took us all the way to the basement floor, and I had to Captain America on my way out because we were locked in the lift. And this is obviously just my new build building, but it's not, because there's so many stories I've read about this happening all across the UK. I have made an entire video about how developers are basically building low quality things on purpose, obviously, to make more money, and the government was giving handouts to these people just so they could make accommodation, even if it wasn't going to be lasting. It is a travesty. Sorry that was such a rant, but God, he's right. The separate taps for hot and cold in the bathroom, the sink is weird. Yes, a lot of older homes have that. It is strange. These days, I rarely see one of those, but yeah. Beans on toast is actually good. Absolutely. Boom, that's right. Listen, if you hadn't had beans on toast, all right, and you've entered into the anti-British discourse bullying Brits for having no palates, you can't speak, all right, until you try some beans on toast. Lil Heinz can of beans. I just had some last night, to be very honest with you. A little cheese on top, a little crack of fresh cracked pepper. Oh! It's actually just a really nice struggle meal for me. When I'm not doing well, I just make some beans on toast. You don't have to think. You throw the bread in the toaster, you put some butter on it, and then boom, you got some beans and some pepper and some cheese and mwah. Milk being sold by the pint. I agree, shocked Irishman. It should be a metric thing. Let's start a movement, please. The only thing that should be in pints is alcohol. I'm gonna stand on that. But I still think metric should be for everything. Oh, here's one that I wanted to talk about. How little the windows open, just a tiny sliver. It was hell in 2022 when it hit 40 degrees. Hey, it hit 38 degrees in 2022 actually. But yeah, I do not know why the windows in the UK are built by barbarians. It's similar to the issue with the building quality here. When I got my flat here, they literally made it so that the windows only opened this much, and I had to like go in and essentially break a latch to be able to open my window, only to find out this is such a windy area that now, as soon as I have it cracked a little bit, the wind just comes in and breaks everything that's on the windowsill, because they also decided to have the windows open in. Who does this? Germany invented this incredible window technology. They even have a verb, kippen. Basically, the windows, you might have had one in the UK as well. You can twist it, pull it out this way. You can pull it out this way a little bit. You can put it... We're living in the Stone Ages up here in Britain, I swear. The way they don't rinse the soap off the dishes after washing them. I was utterly shocked and grossed out. Okay, I don't do this because obviously I didn't come from here and I have some sense, but there are some interesting reasons why many Brits do not rinse the soap off, which, by the way, is a silly thing to do. Rinse the soap off unless you want to have some soap residue after eating. Basically, this was because of some marketing in the 80s and 90s. I'm pretty sure it was Fairy Liquid, a very popular dish soap in a dish soap in the UK. They had this marketing campaign showing that there isn't any soap scum after you clean your dishes, and you can just let the soap in the ad, the soap would just kind of like fall down. And a lot of the Brits watching telly were like, oi, that saved me some time. I'm just not gonna rinse my dishes anymore. And they just kept that up. So blame Fairy Liquid. And I guess this is a good example of why Europeans get so upset when Americans are describing Europe as like this giant group, because Europeans get incredibly surprised by things about Britain, and everyone gets surprised about things about the individual countries because they're all individual countries. But if you are new to Britain and you find certain things surprising, what better way to get adjusted to the country than meeting and chatting with locals over dinner using today's video sponsor, Time Left. But what is Time Left, I hear you ask? Well, Time Left is an app that helps connect you with strangers in your city to make friends offline through dinners, drinks, and more. You sign up and you fill out a quick little questionnaire asking questions about what type of music you like, how important family is, so on and so forth. Then you tell them what part of the city you're based in and what rough budget you have for a dinner. Their algorithm then matches you up with a group of up to 6 people. They book you a table and y'all get to know each other. And if you're like, oh, well, what will we talk about? I don't even know these people. Well, there's always someone in every group that's the most chatty. In most of the groups I've been, that's usually me. But you don't really have to rely on that, because Time Left is supposed to be a frictionless way of getting to know people. And so within the app, which everyone has downloaded in order to get there, they have these games that you can follow along through the evening to get to know each other a little better, little icebreakers and such. And after you're done your meal and you've had some good chats and you leave the restaurant, you can then rate how well you vibed with each person, which influences in the app whether you see that person again or if you see some people like them. This is my second time I've used Time Left, and it's been just as nice as the last. I get a chance to cycle to a new restaurant I've never been to in East London, and I also get to chat with some interesting people over some good food. So if you're interested in meeting some new people from your city and having some good food, or hey, even some new people in a city that you're visiting, they've given me a code. I'm gonna have a link in the description so that you can check it out for more information. So thank you very much to Time Left for sponsoring. Without further ado, let me wrap this up. Welcome to the outro. In terms of a shoe on the other foot type situation, this was a video on things that surprise Europeans about Britain, but I have also made a very interesting video on the things that Europeans use daily that shock Americans. And if you haven't seen that yet, there's some really interesting items in there. I will link that one above. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back on my YouTube channel next Sunday. Goodbye.
This is an insane moment for me. I was at this event for the Spawn for 3 hours, and I just, ADHD brain, I forgot to lock the bike and no one took it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just so blown away. Wow, thanks London. What a good day. There's a lot of faith I have in Londoners today. I gotta tell you. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of faith in Londoners I have today. So much faith. Thanks guys. Wow. A good day. I hope the white balance was locked. Oh, that's the worst news I've ever heard.